Hi, this is Will. I just completed my diff cooler install, and several people had emailed me saying, asking me the question, how did you prep the AN fittings? So I thought I'd do a video on how I actually prep my AN fittings. You can prep them different ways. I'm going to show how I do it and how I've been doing it for years. So let's get started. Here's what we're going to be working with today. Just some of the layout, angle grinder. Please excuse the fact that it's not got a guard on it. The angle grinder that I would use in this case mostly would be one with a guard, but that's being loaned out. Crescent wrench for tightening the AN fittings. Something important, tape the end of it so you don't scar the fittings. Q-tips for cleaning out the hose. 10 shears, which will become clearer later on. Probably the most important part of this is tape. It sounds unusual, but it's true. Scissors for cutting tape. Here are the different sizes or different styles of AN fittings. Elbow, 45 straight. There's also 90. There's all kinds of them. But we'll kind of work with this. And then safety glasses, very, very important because this stuff flies around. And of course the AN hoses. Something to remember. If you're going to buy AN fittings, use AN size hoses. 6 AN is a 3/8, same as a 3/8 tubing or 3/8 hose. Don't buy the 3/8 hose. Buy AN. The reason why is because the fractional hoses are a little bit bigger and make it tighter to go in, and becomes more problematic. So stick with actual hoses that are same as AN. All right, we're going to start with the hardest hose to prep, which is your stainless steel braided hose. I always support mine in a vise. Some people don't have vices. Just find some way of holding the hose in place. This is what happens if you don't secure the braided hose, especially with the stainless steel braided. And this is where the tape starts coming very, very handy. Okay? And here's what I do. I put a tight layer of a tape. I use different colors because I like it easy. I cut it. Now it's only a very thin layer, one layer. Then I take another color of tape, it doesn't matter what color it is, and I place that on and I wrap the tape. I go maybe 10 wraps. I'm not going to count it. I just know about how thick to make this thing work. The tape will self-tighten as far as if you just let it just drag along. Don't worry about putting too much on it because it actually works better if it is thick. And that's what it should look like. Then I take, and I just use 10 shears, something like that, heavy duty scissors, you want to call it that, but it does need to be pretty heavy duty. And I go about halfway down. Should have a mark on that where that's where I measured it. I'd done beforehand. Go halfway down and I score it all the way around. Now, why is this important? I have just compressed the tape onto the hose, and now it'll hold all the braid in place. Okay? Now comes the cutting part. Safety glasses is a must. This stuff flies everywhere. Okay? Now for the grinding. I'm a lefty, so it's actually harder for lefties than it is righties. Okay, here it goes. All right, it's cut. Now take a little bit of WD-40, spray a little bit on the end of a Q-tip. This is very important because if you don't do this, you'll get all the garbage that is in the hose going into your system. You're going to see how much dirt actually comes out of this. A lot of people forget to do this, and now you got all that crud going into whatever system you're going to use this on. Good cleaning. I go up as far as I can just to get any kind of loose particles out. All right. Now, well, let's get the end fit. Unscrew your fitting. This is the side that's going to be the tougher part to install. Prep it, get it, set it aside, and start untaping this massive tape that you just put on that has now served its purpose. You can tell when you're getting close to the end. And when you get to your optional color, you know you're down to the last layer. That's why I do it. Okay? Spray the fitting just a little bit. You don't have to go crazy with it. Just a little bit of WD-40. And now you're going to go counterclockwise. As you can see, this right here, this is where it gets tough. You're going to go counterclockwise, screwing it on. You're going to look down the bore, make sure you get it fully seated, which it does not. Just tighten it down until it just won't go anymore. If you got it, if you cut the tape dead center, the layer of blue, in this case, would be just right below or right at the surface. And then you can kind of look in there, and I've got it bottomed out. Okay, so I didn't cut it dead exactly center, but you can see just a small layer. All right, now that becomes important because when you do the next part of this install, you're going to lubricate the fitting. You're going to put it in, stick it in there. You're going to start to install it. Takes a little bit to get it started. Then it goes. Okay, now starting to put pressure on it. You'll watch this blue line. If you don't have it tight, it'll want to slip out on you. This kind of just gives you a visual reference of how much of the tube is now pushing out. You take your pliers that has tape on it and just tighten away just to get it started. Once started, you know you're on the threads. Pull the hose out, lock the fitting, into your, this is where a vise comes in really handy. And then you tighten away. I do have smaller crescent wrenches, but for video purposes I want it to be easy to see. Now what's surprising is how fast this tape will start to wear as you run across it. It hits a sharp corner each time. And so sometimes you may have to replace the tape on every fitting. Now how far you go down is I go down leaving just a small gap between this first part of the fitting and the main one. So you can see I got to go down quite a bit. And now that I'm doing this, I wish I'd use a smaller pliers just because they're easier to handle for this type of purpose. You see the tape has not been moved that much, which is what I want. Okay, so here's the end product. You can see the tape moved very, very little. And the fitting, I have a small little gap, and that's it. It is now complete. I said if I would have cut the tape, or made the cut exactly dead center of the tape, and I use a 1-inch tape, it would have been right at the very edge of that. Some people like that nice and neat. That's okay. I prefer to see the tape, but I don't need to see this much. And it is secure. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to leak. And that makes it nice and simple. The nylon braided hose is actually a lot easier to terminate because it doesn't want to splay on you. You can see I've already prepped this in right here, just put some tape on it so it doesn't fray anymore, but of course that'll have to be removed. But that's just normal storage. You see how it just wants to fray on you? You'll never get that underneath an A-end fitting, never. So that's how I do it. If you guys have any questions, just post me a note and I'll try to answer them. Thank you.